In this next video, we're going to cover the exercise 2 of chapter 2, Civil Geometry, where we lay out the Route 63 alignment. Again, all the information you need to lay this alignment out is on this page here. You're giving a beginning point and ending point coordinates. If I zoom down a little bit further, there you go, ending point coordinates. You're giving the direction back and direction ahead, and we're storing a spiral, curved spiral. And all that curve information is given to you as well. So you can just use this diagram to lay out that alignment, or if you need to, you can go down to the exercise a couple pages further down, and you can use the instructions to lay that out. And so again, the Route 63 exercise, here are the beginning and ending points, and here's the spiral arc spiral or spiral curved spiral information. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to lay it out as a design geometry scratch, and then we're going to turn on Civil AccuDraw to help place the start and end points of our alignment using these coordinates here. And then we're going to use Civil AccuDraw to lay out two tangent lines to define the tangents going into that spiral arc spiral, and then we'll place a spiral arc spiral combination and basically trim those two tangent lines back. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the feature definition if it's not already set to Geometry Scratch. Let's go back and look at that. And since we just did the Road 1 exercise, we're set to Geometry Scratch already in our feature definition. If you're not set to that already, it's under if we go look, it's under Design, Design Standards, Geometry, and Geometry Scratch. Okay. Make sure this is toggled on to use active feature definition. We're going to use Civil AccuDraw. We're going to make sure that's turned on and using the mode of X, Y. And so, and then we're going to go over and we're going to start our tangent. And we're going to start with the tangent point that's the most northern part, or the beginning point of our alignment. And for that X value, we need to type in 1,676,434.4103. And once you have that typed in, you just hit enter to lock it in. Move your cursor and it's locked in. That looks good. Then we're going to type in the Y value of 1,262,365.4715. Again, I'm going to lock that in. It's falling within my terrain model, so that gives me a good feeling that that's correct. So I'm going to left click to start that line, and then I'm going to go to my Civil AccuDraw and switch to my distance and direction. Again, like we did in Road 1, we're going to place this line at a certain length. We don't know what that length is, but we do know the direction. So we're going to switch down to the direction field, and we're going to type in the direction back, which is given to us on the alignment sheet and in the exercise. And so that direction back is going to be south and 0 degrees, so I'm going to type in a 0, colon, 20 minutes, colon, 19.8 east. So we're going to hit east, E for east, and we're going to lock that in. When I lock it in, you can see the bearing is locked in, and we're just going to come down and we're going to just left click at a line length that I know is greater than what I need. Even if it was shorter, it would still work, but I'm going to go ahead and make it longer, and I'm just going to left click. So that's our first bearing. Now I'm going to put in the ending point of this, and I'm going to switch back to my XY mode in my Civil AccuDraw. And so it's asking for the X, and the ending point that we need to type in for the X is 1,678,994.1314. I'm going to hit enter to that. You can see I'm locked in on that X value. Now I'm going to type in the Y value of 1,257,205.0288. I'm going to lock that in. And you can see that my point is falling within my terrain model, so that again gives me a good feeling that what I typed in is correct. I'm going to left click to start the line, And then again, I know the bearing, the head bearing, and so I'm going to switch to my distance and direction mode again. And again, I don't know the distance. All I do know is the direction, and that direction ahead is given to us in a southeasterly direction, but we're actually trying to draw this line in a northwesterly direction. So we're going to type in an N for north, 45 degrees, colon, 39 minutes, colon, 27.2, and that's going to be west. I'm going to lock that in. You can see my bearing is locked in there, and I'm just going to make this line just a little bit longer so that I have an intersection between these two tangents. So I'm going to left click at that location. Okay, so I'm done placing my tangents, and now what I can do is I can store my spiral arc spiral or spiral curve spiral. Again, this is in, if we look back at the manual, storing this spiral arc spiral is going to be down in step number 7 here. And so we're going to deactivate Civil AccuDraw because we don't need that to do this. And so we're going to go back and we're going to turn off Civil AccuDraw. Then we're going to come over to our horizontal geometry tools, and we're going to go to the simple arc tool, but notice that there's a little arrow down the bottom right hand corner. If I click and hold, you'll see we get different options. The option that we need is a spiral arc spiral. Okay, and in this dialog box, instead of a radius, what we're going to do is we're going to do a degree of curve of 2 degrees 30 minutes. Okay, and so and also we've got a spiral length back of 200 and a spiral length ahead of 200. So I'm going to define those right off the bat here. And for the degree, I'm going to probably just define that as I'm laying this out. I'm going to give that a try here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the first element. I'm going to click on the second element. And you can see there's the radius. But again, we got degree of curvature. So all you got to do is type D in there. And then it's 2 degrees, colon, 30 minutes. I'm going to enter that. And when I enter it, it's going to convert it into a radius. So just like so. And then it's asking for what quadrant do you want to put this spiral arc spiral in. We're going to do in this quadrant, and we're going to trim both back. Okay. So you can see I got several elements out there, and now what we're going to do in the next step, if we look back, we're going to create a complex element and turn the individual elements into a complex element. And we're going to name the alignment Route 63. Route 63 with no spaces because we're exporting this out to a GPK once we switch it to the MoDOT baseline proposed. And so we're going to slide on over to create by complex element. We're going to give it a name here. We're going to call it Route 63. We got the automatic method, and the stationing goes from the top down. So we're going to pick this top element up here. The arrow is going to, we want the arrow facing down, so we're going to click on it. You can see every element gets connected and all it highlights, and then we're going to accept that. So now we have a complex element. Now the only thing we don't have is a station value at the beginning, and so that's the next step, is give this a station value. So let's take a look and see, look at our instructions here. Right here, using step number 9. Okay, step number 9. So we're going to use the start station tool beginning at 9 plus 50. Okay. So we're going to go over and we're going to use this icon here, the start station. We're going to click on this alignment here. It's going to ask us where we want to start the stationing at, and typically at MoDOT we do it at the very beginning. And the station value we're going to type in is 9 plus 50, and we're going to hit enter. Now you'll see when I click on this, I now have a station value here that I can adjust if I need to later on. Again, this tool can only be used once per alignment. So if I try to use that tool again, it's going to tell me that that will not, well, it should tell me it's not, shouldn't work. Let me try it. Let me hit F4 to this again. Let me make sure. Okay. Yeah, what it's doing is it's trying to place the stationing on that tangent line, which we don't really want to do. We want to do it on our alignment. It won't let me select the complex alignment. So you can see kind of right there, element already has stationing, and so it won't let you do it. So once you use that tool once per alignment, you're pretty much done with that tool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to switch the feature definition of this alignment to the MoDOT baseline proposed. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to bring up the properties, and I'm going to switch the geometry scratch to MoDOT baseline. Now before you do this, you probably want to look at your annotation scale. We have it set from 50 from the Road1, and that's exactly what we want. So we're going to go on down. The other thing, before we do that, you want to make sure that you have a GPK available and that your job directory is pointing to the same location or to the right location for your GPK. You can just simply click on your Kogo icon and see if you have a GPK out there. We created a 200 earlier, and that's the one we're going to put it into. So I just want to make sure I still had it out there, and I do. And then now I'm going to go ahead and change this to a MoDOT baseline proposed. And so I'm going to go on down to drafting standards, plan, alignments, and I'm going to pick the middle one. Again, all three of these will do stationing and tick marks. I'm going to pick the middle one because it's a MoDOT baseline proposed. And if you give it a second, it exports behind the scenes. It exports that alignment out to your GPK and then also applies the stationing and tick marks. Just to see if that we've got this information out in our Kogo 200 GPK, we're going to go take a quick look. There's our points that it automatically created, and if we go down the chains, there's our 2 chains. One thing you need to be aware, if you delete these alignments out in your DGN file, they will be deleted out of the GPK as well. So again, you can move this spiral or this text information if you want to, kind of like we did here, but you'll see what's going to happen is if we put in lane lines, the lines that you put out there will be on top of the text here. So I'm going to go ahead and try to move this stuff real quick here. Again, you got to make sure you're not selecting something you don't want selected. This time it did not select the terrain model, so I'm just going to go ahead and move this with just a simple Microstation move. I'm going to place it further over. I'm going to do the same thing to this piece of geometry. Now I've grabbed that 35 and I don't want that to be part of it, so I'm going to minus something out of it. There we go. I'm going to move that over. And then one last spiral note I need to move. Again, I'm going to move that one over. Oop, we still have the previous selection set, so I'm going to clear out my selection and do it again. And I'm going to go right there. So hit F4. Once you're done with that, we're done storing that alignment, and we're going to go in and we're going to check the report. Again, you just right click on the alignment and bring up the report tool, and again, if you don't like this report, you can click on other reports, and if you prefer a different report to be your default one, just right click and make that as your default geometry. Okay. So that's all there is to laying out the alignments for the Chapter 2, the Route 63 alignment. Very similar to the Road1 alignment, where we laid out the tangent lines and then added the curve in. In this case, we added 2 tangent lines, and then we added in a spiral arc spiral.